Hello and welcome back to upGrad. My name is Madhur Singh and in today's video, we are going to delve into one of the fundamental aspects of Python programming, that is operators. Now, operators are the building blocks that allow us to perform operations on variables and values. Whether you are adding numbers, comparing values, or making logical decisions, operators play a crucial role. We'll explore three main categories of operators in Python. Number one is arithmetic, then comes comparison, and finally logical operators. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of how to use these operators effectively in your code. Now, if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest tech tutorials. So without any further ado, let's get started. So now before starting operators, let's look at the answer of the questions of the previous video. So in the previous video, I asked about creating a Python script that would do the following. Number one, create a variable student that stores a dictionary with the student's name, age, and a list of their favorite subjects. Then assess and print the student's name from it and add a new subject to the list of favorite subjects. Print the updated list. So that was the task in hand. I'm sure most of you would have done this exercise. So the answer to it, I'll just share you the code snippet for it. So here what I have done here is I've taken the name John, stored it in name, then 21, stored it in the variable age. So and in this bigger variable is student over here. This is a dictionary that we have built. Favorite subjects are math and physics. Again, this is a list. And we know the list comes in square brackets. We have discussed this in the previous video itself. Then the task was to assess and print the student's name. So print student is how it will look at. First the variable student, then inside it the name part of it, and the output would be John. Then the third part was to add a new subject to their favorite subjects, right? So any favorite subject of your choice. So again in the variable student, the favorite subject. Now this append one is there, in which you would probably not have known how to use it, but append is the one in which you can add a favorite subject to your list, right? So in this, favorite subjects is called upon here, and in this you have to add. So you use append, and with that you can just open parenthesis, write the name of the particular subject and close it. Now what would happen in this case? Now computer science is added with maths and physics, right, as the third element over here. So if you have to print the updated list was the task. So print student favorite subjects is what we called upon. The output would be math, physics and computer science, right? So the point here to be noted is this append one, right? Going forward, you would also know a lot of different functions to use, how to use it, when to use it. So for now, just take a note of it, that if you want to add anything in that particular list, you use append command over here, right? So this was the answer to the question of the previous video. Now let's start with operators. In programming, operators are basically special symbols or keywords that perform operations on one or more operands, which means operand means variables or values, okay? So they are basically essential for manipulating the data and controlling the flow of a program. So when I talk about flow of a program, it's basically how you have structuring the program, how it is run, okay? So Python supports a wide range of operators, right? Each for a specific purpose. We'll focus on three major ones over here. So now let's start with operators. So in programming, operators are basically special symbols or keywords that perform operations on one or more operands. So now what does operand mean? It's basically the variables and the values that we have. So they are essential for basically manipulating the data and controlling the flow of a program. When I talk about flow of a program, it basically means how the code is structured and how it is run. Python supports a wide range of operators, each for a specific purpose. So for today, we will focus on three of the most commonly used operators, that are arithmetic operators, comparison operators and logical operators, right? So now understanding these operators will basically enable you to perform calculations, make decisions and control the logic of your programs very easily. Okay, so let's look at the arithmetic operators. So the first one that we have, right? So let's look at arithmetic operators. So the first one that we have is addition, right? So I'll just briefly give you a gist of what arithmetic operators are. So arithmetic operators are basically used to perform mathematical operations between numerical values, right? When we talk about maths, we talk about numbers. So when we talk about maths, we talk about numbers. So basically performing mathematical operations between numerical values. Python provides a comprehensive set of arithmetic operators that allow you to carry out calculations with ease. So let's explore this one. So in this case, let's write it down in our Python script. So let's say again I will take the variable, I'll add the value 10 to it. The second one I'll take as b, add the value 5 to it. Then the result would be a plus b as we did before, and then we'll print the so here nothing is done, so I'll just write print result, right, and shift plus enter. So 10 plus 5 is 15, so it gives me the answer 15, right? So that is addition operator that we have. It's basically what you did in school. It's maths, but it's basically telling Python how to do maths in this regard, how you have to write about it, right? Similarly, again in this case, if I just do it as a minus b, then the result would be 5, because 10 minus 5 is 5. Right. So the subtraction operator subtracts the second operand from the first. Okay. So it's always the case. It cannot be that if you want to subtract 5 from 10, basically 5 minus 10, the answer would be minus 5, right? We want 10 minus 5. So in the same order I have to write. Order cannot be changed. It's basic law of maths how it works. Similar to that it is here. The third element is multiplication. So the multiplication operator multiplies two operands. How it is done? Simply I have to use star over here. So shift and 8 would be the command. Then the result would be 10 into 5, 50, right? As simple as that. Next is division. So the slash in between would be division, right? So division operator divides the first operand by the second and returns a floating point number, right? So it will, this is a key element when you are using the division arithmetic operator, it will always come as a float value, because integer would not make sense, because there would definitely be a remainder that needs to be incorporated somewhere or the other. Okay. So the next one is modulo. So what it is, it's basically, it returns the remainder of the division of the first operand by the second, right? So if I divide 3, if I do 10 divided by 3, it would be 3 3s are 9 and 1 would be the remainder, right? So how you need to quickly carry out, if you just need to look at the remainder, we just have to put the percentage symbol over here, right? And the result would be, so in this case there is no remainder because A is 10 and B is 5, but if I change it to, let's say B is 3, the remainder would be 1, right? So that is how it is, right? If it is 9, then it will be 0 because it is perfectly divisible, right? This is how the modulo operator works. Right. So essentially for arithmetic, we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo as the important ones, and that you would be predominantly using in your analysis of data. Then comes the comparison operator, right? So comparison operators are basically used to compare two values or variables, as the name suggests. So they return a Boolean value, right? So basically at the end they would either return you a true or a false, right, based on what the comparison is like. Now these operators are essential for controlling the flow of a program using conditional statements. So how to do that? Let's have a look, right? So there are essentially, I would say there are about 6 comparison operators that we use. So I'll be showing you each and every one, how to write the code for it, how to use it as well, right? So the first one is equal to. So that is basically double times equality sign in your keyboard, right? Just beside the backspace one, right? That is an equal to comparison operator. So it checks if the values of the two operands are equal or not, right? So how to use it? If I save 5 over here and if I save 5 in A and 5 in B, and if I just, so in this case you need parenthesis, okay? So parenthesis is required. So otherwise what it would show you an error if you do not use it. So whenever you are using comparison operators, since it will give you a boolean output, so it's basically essential for you to use the parenthesis. Okay. So I'll just give B, close, and then I'll just write shift and enter. The expression would be true because B is equal A. Okay. So the next one is, again, if we have done equal to, then there should be not equal to. So it's basically exclamation mark with equal to sign in a parenthesis is how you have to use this comparison operator, not equal to, right? So I'll just change it as, let's say, A is 5, B is 3, and then change it to exclamation mark equal to B, and then print result as it is. If I run it, it will come true because B is not equal to 3, which is correct, it is not equal. But if I do it 5 and 5, I store the value 5 in A, 5 in B, and then execute it, it will come as false because the condition was not equal to, but they are equal. So the condition is false. This is how you use the not equal to operator. Next comes greater than operator. Now it basically checks if the value of the first operand is greater than the second or not, right? So this one is a pretty interesting one. I'll just write A if it is greater than B or not. So I'll just write A as, let's say, 7 and B as 5. Shift enter, true, right? If I take it as 2, it will come as false. So it's simple as that. Is A equal to B? Print the result. The result is it is not equal, not greater than B. So the result is false. Similarly, if I have to do it in any other case, next one would be less than operator. So it basically checks if the value of the first operand is less than the second or not, right? So in this case, A equal to, let's say, A equal to 5, B equal to 5 as well, and the expression is less than equal to. So the answer is false because it is equal. If I just write 4, then it is also false, right? If A is less than B, no, it is not, it is greater. Now if I do it 9, the answer would be true, it is. Then comes greater than or equal to, right? So if both the elements are same, what to do? So in that case, it would be if I just write 5 and 5, and if it is greater than and or equal to. So if it checks if it is, so or is a keyword over here, right? If it checks if the first operand is greater than or equal to. In both the cases, the output would be true. Okay, I'll show it to you how. They are equal, so it will show true, and if I do it 8, then also it will show true. But if I do B as 15, then it will show as false. Okay. Similarly, the next one would be less than equal to, as you figured out already. Then what we need to do is we'll just put it as less than equal to. So it checks if the value of the first operand is less than or equal to the second one, then the result would be true. So the result is true, right? So these were all the comparison operators that you would be using in your codes, right? So have a note of them, keep practicing them, play around with them, and keep practicing. The next element is the logical operators, right? So to give you a gist of logical operators, it's basically used to combine two different conditions, right? In technical terms, I would call it as to combine conditional statements. So they basically allow you to build more complex logical conditions by combining multiple comparisons, right? So there are essentially three of them, and, or, and not. So let's have a look what they do and how did they do it. So the first one is the AND operator. So in this case, the AND operator returns true if both the operands are true, otherwise it returns a false. So in this case, let's have a look. If this condition A less than B is true and B less than C is true, then the output would be true. Okay. So let's have a look directly over here. I'll just, in this case, introduce a new element because the comparison would be among three. So is the minimum values you need to store in the variables to have a comparison or to use a logical operator per se. So let's say A I store as 5, B I store as 10, C I store as 15. Now the result I have to check is in an OR AND operator is one conditional statement. I am putting A is less than B, okay, and operator again parenthesis, B is less than, B is less than C, okay. Now I want you to think and tell me what the answer would be, okay. Let's go as how it is supposed to be. Is A less than B? A is less than B, yes, it is true. So the first operand is true. The second one is B less than C, B is less than C, the second operand is also true. Now for an AND operator to work and return the value true, both the operands need to be true, right? The first conditional statement and the second needs to be true itself. So when I print it, it will come as true itself, right? Let's say if I do the opposite way, let's say if I put A is greater than B, now if I do it, the answer would be false, right? So in this case, for the AND operator to work, both the first statement and the second statement needs to be true. That's the defining part about logical and logical operator. The second part of it is using an OR operator. So what it basically does is the OR operator returns true if one of the operands is true, right? So in this case, again, two conditions are there, A less than B or B less than C. If any one of them is true, it would return as true. If both of them are not true, then it will return as false. Okay, let's have a look. I'll add 5 to A, 10 to B, and I'll change the C part to, let's say, 3. Now let me just put A less than B and B less than C, right? Now let's go logically first. Is A greater than B? No. A is less than B. Is B less than C? No. B is greater than 3, right? B is greater than C. So the first statement here, A less than B is true, but the second statement, B less than C is not true, right? Also, I have to change this operator to OR since we are talking about OR. So now one of them is true, it holds true. So the output that we will get would be true, right? So here the output comes as true. Now let's just reverse it. Let's just change this to greater than. Now is the first statement true? It is true. Is the second statement true? It is true. So what do you think the answer would be? It remains true. Now let's just do the opposite way. Let's just change everything. Let's say A greater than B, which is false, and B less than C, which is also false, right? So the answer would be false. So the only time in an OR operator, right? Note this down wherever you are noting it. Whenever in an OR operator, if both the conditions are false, the answer would be false, and that's the only time you would have a false, right? If both the conditions are true, it will display as true. If one of them, any one of them is true, it will still display as true, okay? So that is all about OR operator. So now let's look at the third operator, which is NOT operator. So what it basically does is the NOT operator reverses the Boolean value of its operand, right? So what it exactly means is that if I place true in A and false in B, right? So the key word here is it reverses the Boolean value of the operand. I store another variable not a in result a. I define a new variable result underscore a, and I would say it is not what a is, right? A is a variable that stores true, and what is not true, right? Not of true is false. Similarly, not of false is true. Just think it of this way: opposite to what true is what you have to get as an output, right? So if my value stored in a is true and I want not of true, it would be false. Similarly to that, if I have to enter false into a variable b, and if I want not of b, then it not of b is true because b is false, not of false is true. So that's what it is about. We can check this out as well. We'll just write true over here. In b we'll write false, then c is not there, then I'll store, let's say, underscore a equal to not a, and I'll print the result underscore a, and if I print it, it will come as false. Now similarly, let's say if I just save it as b, and I'll call upon the b variable. Okay, as I mentioned, okay, this is also a recap of what we did in the last video. When I'm calling the variable, I'm not writing false over here, I'm calling the variable in which I've stored false. Okay, so I'll just write result underscore b and shift and enter. The answer would be true because not of false, opposite of false would be true, right? So that's how you go about the not operator. Okay, so to write efficient and errors free code, what are the best practices that is required, right? So it's basically essential to follow the best practices when using operators in Python, right? So here are some tips. Number one would be to understand the operator precedence. Okay, so you can, again, you all know what board mass is, so you should know that, okay, first of all, multiplication, division, and that kind of the operators takes precedence, then addition, subtraction, then comparison operators and logical operators. So that's how the flow is supposed to be, right? Then the next element would be to use parentheses, right? So I've informed, for example, in list you have to use square brackets whenever you are using the comparison operators, right? Then you have to use parentheses, right? So if you do not use that, right, if you do not follow the Python syntax, then it will be difficult for you to get that output that you are desiring, right? It will show you as an error, right? Again, this is again use of indentation and consistent use of spaces around the operators. That is also very, very important. Again, avoid overcomplicating expressions. For example, let's say you are saving one string in a variable, let's say a, and you are storing the other one in, let's say, a1 or aa, right? So just don't add variable names that are difficult for you to understand later on, right? So stop overcomplicating the expressions, use the expressions wisely, have a clear indication for you to understand and for other stakeholders to understand. Okay, think of it that way, that okay, one day you would be analyzing data in XYZ company, and when your seniors would want to look at your code, Python code, they would need to understand it in one go. They don't need to, be complicated about understanding each and every line, being confused about it, asking you multiple times. The code you write should be self-explanatory, right? And the best part is use comments in Python code, use a lot of good variable names, right? So that is what my suggestion to you would be. Use built-in functions and libraries that are there, that are common, and also document your code. What it basically means is use a lot of comments in representing what you are trying to do, right? If you have written the code today and 6 months later, if you want to revisit your code and then you figure out, oh, I forgot what I did. So that is not how it's going to work, right? So in that manner, you need to put a lot of comments so that you know what you're doing in each step of the code, right? Make it a habit from the start itself, from now itself, because this is going to be a long course ahead. And when the code gets more complicated, the furthermore the course will get more and more into depth of codes, right? So in that case, the things can get complicated for you to understand. So maintain a habit of documenting your code, using a lot of comments to justify what you're doing in each and every step. Okay, so I want to see how you're using this particular comments in the code. I would want to see how you do it, right? So I have a question for you. So in this particular video, we have a question that is, you have to create a temperature converter. Okay, so create a program that converts temperature between Celsius and Fahrenheit, right? So if you would have studied science in class 10th, the formula is Fahrenheit equal to Celsius into 9 by 5 plus 32. You can find that anywhere online also. But the part here is, you have to create a temperature converter, okay, from Fahrenheit to Celsius, or between Celsius and Fahrenheit, as in how you want to do it, right? If you want to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you can do that too, or from Fahrenheit to Celsius, you can do that too, but the code needs to be done. You cannot just do it manually. You have to write a code, and also there needs to be an input command to it, right? In the first video, I showed how to use the input function, if you remember, right? So have that input function in play as well, right? So I would want your answers or your code in the comment section below, how you have done it. If you have any doubts, you can put them in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to answer to all your comments. Also, the answer to this particular question would be in the next video, so stay tuned for that as well. If you're learning to code, you're probably someone who wants to be the master of tech world. Join a job-linked data science and AI advanced bootcamp at upGrad and gain the skills employers are looking for. With a practical industry-aligned curriculum and hands-on project, you'll not only learn from seasoned experts, but also apply your knowledge to real-world scenarios. So don't miss out. Click the link in the description to start your data science journey today. Now, operators are indispensable tools in Python programming, enabling you to perform calculations, make comparisons, and control the logic of your applications. By mastering arithmetic, comparison, and logical operators, you lay a strong foundation for more advanced programming concepts and techniques. We believe that every individual has a unique path to success, and sometimes all it takes is a little guidance to unlock your full potential. Our expert career advisors are ready to help you discover the path that's perfect for you. Don't miss out on this chance to invest in your future. Click the link in the description to book your free counseling session now, and let's build the career you've always dreamed of. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit. Have any questions or topics that you would like us to cover next? Drop them in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to subscribe for more Python tutorials and programming tips. Thanks for watching and happy coding.